Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back to Football Inc. We hope you are all happy and healthy doing the things you love. It is Friday. It's your lunchtime special with Jonny and I. We've got a lot of transfer news, views and clues to get to you. Jonny decided to dress down for the occasion. He's just wearing a slightly unbuttoned polo shirt for the day. How are you, Jonny? Good to see you, mate.
I thought I'd go casual today after the Soho shirt fiasco. I thought I'd go plain. Even though I am going out this evening, I thought I'd dress down. All good, all good. Hot weather continues. Who needs a holiday when you can sunbathe in the British Algarve? Yes, beautiful. Beautiful.
Madness, isn't it? Guys, I'll tell you what, it's also madness. We got some transfer news, views and clues. We got, was it a 10-year deal for a certain player?
Yeah.
Nico Williams, he's decided to stay loyal to his team despite twerking for half the other teams in Europe for the last 6 months. We'll chew that one through. We've got some stories regarding Luis Diaz as well, because obviously if Nico Williams isn't going to Barcelona, then who's going there instead? Does our man Marcus Rashford get a reprieve late on after all of his twerking efforts? We shall see. We've also got a monster story out of Newcastle for you guys. Scalvini, probably the greatest, hottest ticket in Italian defensive football, might be going in that direction. Absolutely fascinating.
And the number, Sean, which is unbelievable, 30 million. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'd be surprised if it was that low, to be entirely honest, but we shall. So we've got that to chew over in the specifics, guys. Before we get into it, there's 100 people in the house straight away. Love to see it. Thank you very much for your support. Please do smash the like button for us if you enjoy the content. Hit the subscribe if you haven't already. Notification bell button should be pushed, because if you have been paying attention, then we're definitely going to bring you a video every day, 100%. But whether it's at 9:30 in the morning or 9:30 at night, we can't necessarily know, because Johnny's got a ridiculous social life. So we have to sort of bake in when he's going to Soho. I think tonight he's going out in a black tie. So we got to figure it out. So smash the notification bell so you know when it's coming. Hit the comment section, and also, guys, if you are on the podcast side of the content game, then please get over to Apple Pods and follow us over there and hit the 5-star rating if you enjoy it. And the option is open to you as well, to that on Spotify and on Amazon. Jonny, do you want to get us going with this story, mate, about Mr. Nico Williams, or do you want to tackle me on the social life issue?
Listen, we'll move away from my social life just for the minute. The shirt's been put to bed for the minute. The Nico Williams story. Look, the rumour was that he was going to go to Barcelona for £65 million. That's what Atletico Bilbao wanted. Unfortunately, it didn't take long for them to work out that, Atletico to Bilbao to work out, contacting the Spanish Federation to say, well, hang on a minute. Barcelona don't have £65 million. There's no way that they can buy this player. They're unsettling the player. Then there was rumours, obviously, that Arsenal were going to come in if it didn't go down, because his first choice, if he was going to leave Athletic Bilbao, would be for Barcelona. It's now null and void. He's now signed a 10-year contract. I thought you couldn't sign a 10-year contract. I thought, you could only sign a 5+1, Sean. But obviously,
you can only amortize it over that length, but you can sign as long. You can sign away your life if you want to. Jonny, yeah. Do you know how much is he earning? The same money as he was earning in his previous contract, in his new contract?
Well, the thing is here, you got to remember, they haven't paid a penny for him. He's come through their academy along with his brother.
Yeah.
Therefore, there's no transfer fee. Therefore, they can afford to pay him 350 grand or way more than any other player.
He's also Basque, right? So, like Bilbao have this incredible loyalty to their culture, where they don't need to do this, but I guess if they change the rule, I'm sure their own fan base would probably go apoplectic because it's political. But they stick to their guns, where they're only allowed to buy players, buy players that are Basque or that came through the youth system, even if they're not Basque, but they came through the youth system and then went off and they can come back. But in a nutshell, it is incredibly restrictive on their talent pool. And at the same time, they still manage to finish third or fourth most seasons in the La Liga and do fairly well in cups and things. It's an incredible story, really. And I guess the fact that Nico Williams is Basque, and obviously, therefore, if they lose him, it doesn't matter how much money they get for the guy. they can only go after a certain pool of players. So to them, it's probably worth its weight in gold to pay for this guy and keep him at the club forever. And the quote unquote loyalty shown by the player is also nice to see. It's
unusual. It's unusual, for a youngster to not be swayed. Me personally, I've now sort of got a soft spot for Athletic Bilbao, being a Spurs fan and obviously being in Bilbao for a week. I didn't go for a day. I went for the full hog. That's the truth. That is the truth. I struggled. I just about made the 9 o'clock last night. But I sort of fell in love with the Athletic Bilbao lot, or Bilbao as a place. The fans were so supportive of us, Spurs fans. They were all behind us, so friendly. And I really enjoyed the place. So I'll be definitely watching out for them next season. I think it's a nice story at this time where there's so much mercenary behaviour going on that a young player would commit to a club for 10 years and not be drawn by the big lights. So big up. Now, so that means, Sean, that if he's not going, Hansi Flick will then probably be looking to get Marcus Rashford. Now, we know that Barcelona can't afford anywhere near the money, but they will look to be doing the wages. And I suppose Manchester United will have to make a large contribution to that. And then, just when we thought that, because we know that Rashford is definitely twerking for Barcelona, comes the news just probably an hour or so ago that even though he's made absolutely zero contact with Ruben Amorim, he is going to turn up for first day of training. Now, that's going to be an interesting one. He's going to turn up. The manager's not speaking to him. How's that one going to go down, Sean?
Not well, mate. Not well. I think that Ruben Amorim, if I'm entirely honest, I know he's young, but he's obviously very confident, he's experienced, did really well at Sporting. But I think that he's made a few mistakes in the way that he's articulated his various takes on a couple of the top of the United players. I think the United players clearly, or some of them maybe don't respect him enough, or don't respect anything but themselves enough. And I think there's a couple of problems there. If Garnacho is going to have to come back for preseason training, if Rashford has to come back for preseason training, there's more than a couple of issues there. I would imagine that Antony's going to get figured out pretty soon, some way or the other. And I'd imagine that Jadon Sancho is going to get figured out, so that neither of those two players are going to be at United. But Rashford, I'm not so sure, because there's a story which we're going to lead on to in a second, that Barcelona, that they might turn to Rashford. They wanted Nico Williams, but if they can't get him, they have got someone else in front of Rashford in their plan A. But just to finish off the story, but the question you asked, I do think that Amorim has kind of made an unnecessary rod for his own back. He's sort of like died on an unnecessary hill with regards calling players out, expecting them to not have some reactions, not have some consequences with regards how other clubs are going to value those players and how they're going to set up their negotiations. I think that there's problems there. And look, at the same time, even if they can get rid of players that are also problems like Sancho, we've seen already, and we spoke about this yesterday, that all of the clubs that are interested in him have no intention of paying the transfer fee and the wages. So it's either going to be a loan, and then they'll sort it out next year when they're out of contract, or it's going to be a kicking the can thing. But yeah, Amorim's got some headaches that he didn't need to have if he kept his mouth, or he worded it in a different way, Johnny.
Garnacho's the same. I mean, look, the thing is, sometimes a manager's words are inspiration and inspire you to get your shit together and come on and be a better player and a better human. And other times they're saying, who are you talking to? Who are you telling I'm no good and I need to improve? So, yeah, I think people react differently. But Amorim has died on that hill and he's going to have to pay the price. I don't know whether Kobe Mainoo is going to be another one who falls foul, lauded to the hills, just over 18 months ago. And now he seems to be almost like he's surplus to requirements, not quite fitting in, talk of him wanting to get away. So we shall see. But I still think Rashford will try and twerk his way to Barcelona with them paying maybe 200 grand or 150 grand of the 350. that he's
Doesn't
currently
help.
getting.
Doesn't help United though in terms of their pursuit of new players, does it? Like it's a weird one. Like yes, it might eventually get these problems out the door. And by the way, not to again, we say this 1,000 times a stream, but obviously we are Tottenham fans, and so we do somehow our bigger focus, our bigger kind of energy, I guess. But we do sort of need to reference this because a lot of Tottenham fans are always furious with our ownership for not spending the wages. It's the wages that's the gap. I don't think it is. I think the wages are a part of the conversation. But if you do just go out and recklessly spend wages on players that you think are the good fit but end up being bad on, like, the stats might line up like a Garnacho, right? Like I've said this before. I've run the next winger for Tottenham model through Y-Scout 100 times, 100 iterations. And when I dial up all the various filters, Johnny, in every one of them, Garnacho's name pops up in the top 5 or 10. Tactically, statistically, youth, everything about the profile fits, apart from this thing that you can't work out. You can't put this on a tactic.
You don't want a dickhead. No dickhead policy. A lot of clubs run, and quite understandable. Noel's made a very good point. Newcastle. Can you imagine if Newcastle were only allowed to sign Geordies?
yeah, exactly. It's actually an incredible story. I've got so much respect for how they do it, and we shall. I'm going to sort of be rooting for them. They're my new Spanish team, if you like.
Yeah,
but
me too.
Johnny, let me ask you the second part of that Barcelona story. So Rashford is Plan B in the absence of Nico Williams. Plan A is Luis Diaz. Now, I don't want to obviously dwell on this, and obviously we spoke about this yesterday. Horrendous news what happened to Diogo Jota and his brother. Terrible, terrible stuff. But obviously Liverpool now are going to have to, unfortunately, move forward and think about their various connotations. Now, Luis Diaz is apparently getting super frustrated with Liverpool not being clear with what their intentions are. He is okay to stay at Liverpool, but Liverpool haven't come out and said any particular stance. Apparently, they've said that he's not for sale at the price point that people have inquired at, but they haven't entirely made his future clear to him. Him and his agent are getting frustrated, and Barcelona are prioritizing him. 2 questions. One, where do you see Liverpool where do you see Luis Diaz in the pecking order at Liverpool? And 2, has Diogo Jota's incredibly unfortunate passing, has that possibly added another spanner into the kind of works there around what Liverpool do with a forward approach? Are they going to go again? If so, where?
So 100% it's put a spanner in the works. I mean, from a mental position, players are just about to come back, and there's a gaping hole of a player much loved who's been part of the setup for the last 5 years. But just before this happened, just a few hours ago, not long ago, actually, I think it was maybe yesterday, the day before, Bayern Munich made a bid for Luis Diaz, and it was given, no. Luis Diaz is very much a part of Liverpool's plans for next season. 13 goals last season. Those runs he made, his work rate is just insane. And those runs create so much space for others like Salah and the rest to exploit. He's going nowhere. I thought he was going nowhere before Jota's terrible, tragic death. And I think they're going to need to add, because look, Darwin Núñez looks like he's going to go. And with Jota, unfortunately, passing, I think that's too. They can't afford, I don't think, to not find someone to step into the void. Whether it be an Ekitete or another player.
It's been a few days since we mentioned his name, mate. So now
I've got rusty. I've got a bit rusty with Ekitete. But I've got to tell you, I still think that Liverpool haven't addressed their centre-back issues, because I'm amazed they sold Quansah to Bayer Leverkusen, because now they've got Konate, who's on the final year. They've got Gomez and they've got Van Dijk. They need another. And it's fine if they're signing Mark Gahey, but we shall see. But I think they desperately need a centre-back. I definitely think that Arsenal are stronger in that in the back positions than Liverpool. And if Liverpool were to lose a Van Dijk or a Canate, I think Liverpool are in trouble. TK. Okay.
Eki TK. I've still got it. Let's move on. So that's the Liverpool. The Barcelona story. So they want Luis Diaz as plan A, and they want Marcus Rashford as plan B. And I agree with you, Johnny. I think that because of what's happened, I think that suddenly Luis Diaz, maybe Liverpool are thinking, right, offer, maybe we'll think about it. But now I think it's more difficult for them to do it. Cody Gakpo will probably have to play more minutes and stuff, but he's not the same sort of player. And so I just feel like there's probably less likelihood of him leaving. And therefore that gives Marcus Rashford a little bit more optimism in his ability to get where he wants to play, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just down to the wage. Look, Barcelona have got all sorts of issues. I think if they weren't called Barcelona, this would have escalated considerably. I think the Spanish league have done, whilst they're sort of vocally remonstrating with Barcelona about their financial affairs, it's all noise, and behind the scenes they're doing everything they can to help them out. So what else we got here?
Well, it's just on the same story. This is from Chris Wheeler of the Mail. There's been no contact between Amorim and Rashford since the ball was dropped over his attitude in training. That was obviously before the Aston Villa move, right? So that's quite. I'm not sure if Amorim's difficult. Obviously, I'm not sure if maybe he had to come across the same sort of personalities, and that's one of the questions that you always have about managers that do well at a certain level club. No disrespect to Sporting, they're one of the biggest clubs in Portugal, but they have a certain structure where their pay structure is based on tenure, not necessarily based on caliber. And so there's a little bit of a respect and a little bit of a different kind of culture in that club than maybe they have when you go to Manchester United, where everybody thinks that they're Billy Big Bollocks and egos are going to ego, and it's quite an interesting one, mate. But Nico Williams, for what it's worth, the release clause that has been added to his contract is now still not that much, mate. 95 to 100 million euros, which is still only 80 million quid. So it's almost, I don't know the 10-year deal there. It almost looks like it's a protective play, and that he's come out and said all these things. I'm staying at home. I love it. My heart is all this stuff. But ultimately, his agent has asked for that to be added. So it still leaves a lot of wiggle room for if he does continue to develop for a future for a player to come in and to smash something out of the park. We've got a quick super chat before we move on. Just come in. Mr. Pox Office, thank you so much, mate. And I apologise yesterday, buddy, on the Spurs Talk Show. I didn't see your super chats until right at the end of the show. He says, what would you say is the benefit of keeping Levy on board as a minority shareholder if, say, a QSI takeover versus a 100% takeover, mainly business-wise? Johnny, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, look, so we have a large property portfolio, various ring-fenced individual investments dotted all around the stadium. We saw the development go in, the new planning for the flats. Now, if you looked at the original planning that was earmarked to have started, I think 2022, 2023, that's been delayed. Sort of like a Wembley way from the station. And I personally think that if you kept him on, it would benefit the club for him operating how he knows best. And that's operating on the property front with the hotel and the other developments that will be White Webs, the women's football facility come stadium, with the NFL facility come stadium. That's going to happen at White Webs. It might not happen immediately, but it will happen. I think that's where Levy's will be an asset to Tottenham as a bigger enterprise. But as a football, look, for me, I'm not going to slag Daniel Levy as what he's done for the club in the sense of off-field. What I feel is that in 25 years, he hasn't learned enough about football per se to make the right decisions. And I think, you know, we can all give examples of where he may have gone wrong, Mr. Box Office. And I know, you know, it makes sense.
No, that's Mr. Pox Office.
Mr. Pox Office.
It's a Norwegian man from.
Oh right, it's Mr. Pox. I hope he hasn't got.
I'm not sure if you can zoom in on the face. You can see
right,
there's red polka dots on his face.
And listen, we got breaking news here. We got some breaking news. Ben Jacobs, Sean, have a look.
Yeah. Yep.
Understands Spurs and Inter Milan have both inquired on Genoa. No, I don't actually. Do you?
Right. I met her once. The name was Helga. She didn't text me back.
Genoa defender Connie De Winter, right? No bids
Connie
yet.
De Winter, yeah. Connie De Winter, yeah. He's a wonderful player. I've done a lot of Y Scout on this guy. I'll trust you on the.
Who did he used to play with? Sean?
Sorry.
Who did he used to play with?
Connie De Winter.
Yeah.
Don't know who he used to play with. I don't know. Why?
Well, no, not in his spare time. I'm talking about the football. Genoa. At Genoa.
Listen, he's a brilliant player, though, mate. He's a bit of an old school defender.
Dragusin.
Was he with Radu Dragusin? Was he? Fair enough. Oh, that's interesting. That'd be very interesting. I didn't realise that. Yeah, he's. I spent a lot of time looking at him. He reminds me of a little bit of a sort of, you know, Evan and Dicker type player. He's a baller. He can carry the ball out. He's no nonsense. He's got a super strong tackling. He's very good in the air. But he's one of these kind of up and coming players out in Italy that is obviously that, you know, probably, you know, like Radu Dragusin, right? If he comes over, is he going to acclimate immediately? Not sure. I'm not entirely sure why. I mean, we've been linked with him for ages. I'm not entirely sure why it is that we are necessarily looking at them next.
Right. So do you remember I said to you, between you and me, and I said to you that Spurs are looking for a right-sided, I believe, from what I hear, a centre-back and a right-sided midfielder, a right-sided winger, okay? This would fit the mould. This would also fit an up-and-coming centre-back to replace the potential loss of Romero. Right?
Yeah.
And only costing us 25-30 million, as opposed to you know, the fees that are being scouted around. So this smells to me like Fabio all day long, and this is one that may have more legs than some of the others we've been linked with.
Yeah, I've spoken about him a long time. He's very versatile. He's a right footer, right? But he's played as left side centre back, right side centre back. He's played as a DM, and he's played as an 8, believe it or not. Not this season, just finished, but the season before when he broke out. He's even played at minutes at right back as well. So he's very versatile. He's mobile. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's brilliant in the air. You know, and I feel like what Tottenham are sort of they're clearly making these. If these stories are all true, I
think this one is, Sean. I just. You know, I've said for a while, there's no way that Fabio's not on that phone looking for deals out of Italy. And, you know, if you truly believe that Romero's going, you don't wait till you get your 60, 70 million.
Yeah, then you price that.
And then try. So what you try and do is to do that. And then you play hardball with it. And
he's valued at 22 million euros on transfer market, but I think that the target, the asking price, there's a lot of teams looking at this guy. I think Newcastle were looking at him, believe it or not, a couple of weeks ago. I think Villa were looking at him. I think even Manchester United were looking at him, and I think Leipzig are also looking at him from memory. This because I've done about 3 videos on this guy. He, I do really like him. I really do, and I'm more than happy if that's the way we go. But for what it's worth, Tottenham are also very much looking at other young centre-backs out there like Leone. They're looking at Lukumi. All these players are coming out of Italy. This guy's Belgium, plays, I think he's 23, plays, he's had three or four caps for Belgium as well.
There's one thing you're forgetting about this, right? And it's our man. It's our man from Juventus, okay? Don Fabio. He's come through the Juventus ranks, right? He's played, you know, I think it was like the kids, under 20s, under 19s, before he's gone out on loans. So Fabio's all over this.
Yeah.
And this one, for me, has more legs, and it's one that I would really get on board with because he's got the attributes, as you say. You know, a DM, he can play as a right back, he can play as right centre back, and if we are going to get rid of Romero, then this guy could well fit the bill.
Yeah,
and he'd probably be better in the air.
He's brilliant in the air. That's what he's known for. He's insane. But like I say, he's not slouch either. He's a unit. You know, he's a very good player. But like I say, it's like I said this in the video before. I said if we do sell Christian Romero, and Tottenham fans expect that Tottenham to be replacing Christian Romero with someone of Christian Romero's caliber, it's not going to be like that. You're going to go after someone who's going to be maybe the Christian Romero that Tottenham signed before Christian Romero became the Christian Romero that Christian Romero currently is. Right, I know that when he left Tottenham, when he left Atalanta, he was player of the season or defender of the year or whatever in Serie A. Connie De Winter hasn't got that caliber just yet, but he's still someone that's got a lot of people talking about him. So be very, very interesting, mate. I just wanted to, we'll follow that story for sure. Daniel, just quickly on this one here, with regards to the story about minority shareholder. So that's quite complex, though, Mr. Pox Office, because Daniel Levy's not a shareholder of Tottenham. Daniel Levy's a shareholder of ENIC. And Correct. So he owns, I think it's like 30% or whatever it is of ENIC. And so by proxy of that, when you figure in the minority shareholders, he owns about 23% or something of Tottenham. So in order for him to stay on as a minority shareholder himself, but ENIC to depart, to let someone else take over, you'd have to buy the entirety of ENIC and then give him some shares in the new ownership structure, which, again, if that was to happen, that would be very complicated and complex. So I'm not sure that would really happen, but I could easily see him staying on in some guys, either as just a paid employee with options and with a very generous guaranteed salary. And I don't necessarily hate that. I'd be very interested to see what version of Daniel Levy would be, how he would maybe change his negotiation style if it wasn't his money that he was spending or ENIC's money, because, you know, having worked in football, in finance, in trading, it's much easier to trade with other people's money than it is to trade with your own. There's a different mindset of doing it. So
that's what he does. Let's move on. Let's do the Newcastle story.
Just quickly though, before that, there's another super chat I wanted to get to. So Daniel Field always comes in with a little super sticker. Thank you very much, Daniel. Very appreciative, mate. Can't see it though, unfortunately, buddy. But I hope it's a nice super sticker.
Look at it when we come off, I'm sure it's a super sticker.
Let's move on though, mate, to the story of the day. Newcastle United are very much interested in making early bid for Scalvini. Oh, hang on, it's not on the screen yet. Let me find it.
Giorgio Scalvini. No problem saying that.
Yeah, what do you think of him, mate?
Well, what can you say? 21-year-old, destined for good things. That's all I can say. He's a top player, Sean. I mean,
he's one of the most highly rated Italian centre backs. I'm
just amazed. They're quoting £30 million. I think he's going to be a lot more than that.
Same, yeah. I'm sure there'll be a bidding war for him at 30. Top rated. Everyone's looking at him. Broke into the Italian team already, I believe, and is someone that, I think people are talking about him as, in the same potential vein as that Inter Milan left-sided centre-back that Tottenham Hotspurs tried and failed to Bastoni, the guy that we tried and failed to collect to get his signature. He plays on the right side, of course, but Newcastle United obviously maybe giving up the ghost on Mark Gahey. What do you think, mate? I think he's going to go to Liverpool.
I think Liverpool can't afford to not sign Gahey. Why did they let Konsa go? I mean, you could understand if they were selling Konate with 1 year left, but I can't understand why they let Konsa go. I mean, they've sold him for 34 million with a 60 million buyback first option from Bayer Leverkusen. Just doesn't make sense, that deal, unless they knew for sure that something else was coming in. As I said, Konate is refusing to sign his new contract. He's going to run down and, like Trent, go for nothing, probably at the end of next season. They need more. They need more. They definitely need more. This is not good enough. And judging by the fact that Crystal Palace are twerking for Diamande, what's his name? Diamande.
Ousmane Diamande, yeah.
Yeah.
Diomande. Ousmane Diomande.
what a beast he is. He's an absolute beast. So one would suggest that sort of lurking in the background. So I can see, if from a personal point of view, Mark Gahey might choose to wait till January and sign a pre-contract on a free to go to a Bayern Munich or a club like that, where he's going to get massive signing on fee. His agent's going to get a massive payday and set him up for life. Or does he go now? Liverpool are going to have to entice him with a massive contract for him to forsake all of that, including a big signing on fee. So we shall wait and see on that one. But this is a good signing for Newcastle. I'm amazed other clubs haven't come in for Scalvini, if I'm honest.
Same. We shall see if they do, though. Choppy, I think, just said, introduce himself. Good to see you, Choppy. I think you're a Newcastle fan, mate. Let us know, mate. What are you happy if you go and get a guy? I mean, you should be. There's no reason not to be. Scalvini, obviously, the translation, the transition, all that stuff is something to consider. But I think he's got all of the minerals to become one of the best. So really nice move for Newcastle, mate. Again, it's that'd be one of their first transfers of the summer, won't it, for Newcastle?
Well, if they sign him and Elanga, I think that's two nice bits of business. I mean, we're different. I think Anthony Elanga will be a great signing for that, and Scalvini's right up there as a defender. I'm not sure that fee's right. It's been quoted and Sky at 30 million. I think it's going to be a lot more than that. Do you get an interpreter fee, Sean, from Johnny?
What's that?
Mark Skelton, do you get an interpreter's fee, Sean, from Johnny?
Not yet. No. I'm going to get in and educate those. Make sure he can learn these names. There, it's fun. It's all fun. Let's another story here, mate. Anthony Silva, really interesting player, by the way. Anthony Silva, I think he's at Benfica still, centre back. Turned down a move to Saudi Pro League side Al Hilal. But the centre-back is expected to leave Benfica, with Newcastle United expected to be interested. Mate, it's Newcastle United are stepping up in the centre-back game. I'd drop a bollock if Tottenham signed either Anthony Silva or Scalvini. We're going for, no disrespect, Coney de Winter. I mean, I'm fine with it. But Anthony Silva was a player that we were talking about on the Spurs talk show 2.5 years ago as an up-and-comer. He's kicked on. Benfica don't mess around, though. If you want to sell you want to buy their players, they charge one hell of a fee. Be interesting. Newcastle have clearly got a little bit of money, mate, to spend if they're going after Elanga and one of those two.
Well, I was listening to some finance stuff the other day, and what I gathered from it was that Newcastle, because of how they've been behaving since the owners have taken over, they're now in a much more favourable position to actually spend money in this window. So I think that one of their weakest points of their game was centre-back position. And I think it was an area they needed to improve on. And I really do think that if they ended up, maybe they're going for both, Sean. You know, that's not out the realms of possibility, let's be honest.
In Newcastle?
Yeah.
Both centre-backs?
Yeah, it's not out the realms of possibility. I mean, who would you say? I mean, for me, okay, look, there are a lot of people who say Dan Burn. For me, if you're in the Champions League, I don't believe that Dan Burn is Champions League quality. I'm no disrespect to him. You know, he's a good Premier League footballer. I don't think he's at that level personally.
He offers something very unique, though, doesn't he?
He's unique, right? But that doesn't mean he's special. I mean, from an aerial point of view, but for me, I think these two, Silva and Scalvini, are a step up. I mean, who would you say in the middle in that Newcastle back line, those centre backs? Would you take?
I think I'd keep Dan Burn. If I'm honest, Dan Burn's 33.
Get rid of it.
They need to sort of lower the age, right? They got Sven Botman, who's absolutely class, right? He's a class centre back. But apart from that,
injury.
Fabian Schär is, I think he's in his I think he's late. Like, he's late in his career, 32, 33. Dan Burns, 32, 33. Even Jamal Lascelles, who's like a squad player who came in when they had that horrendous injury problem too. So he's 31, right? So you might not make a bad point there, mate. They might need to go and get a couple of centre-backs for the future because all of their centre-backs, with the exception of Sven Botman, I think Sven Botman's mid-20s, all of those guys are getting on, right? It's that you can't, especially if you want to be a bit more of a kind of a higher line, higher pressing sort of team, you want to have that tactical diversity. You can't really expect 33-year-olds that could easily be playing quite regularly in a season if there was an injury to Sven Botman, if they didn't go and get one of those guys, to expect Lascelles or Dan Burn and or Fabian Schär to play in a higher line, then that's a lot to ask of 33-year-olds. So, I mean, I don't know if they've got the money. At the moment, Newcastle seem to be the only team in European football who have endless wealth, that aren't using endless wealth via the loopholes.
I think they're going to spend... Look, Callum Wilson's gone, so they needed someone else up front. I wouldn't be surprised, maybe, unless they're going to press Elanga maybe as a false nine, or to play alongside Isak to offer that spear up front. It'd be interesting to see.
I forgot, Foxy. I forgot your. Good to see you, mate. Let me know, mate. Like, is Johnny onto something there? Could you guys be getting both of those players? I mean, if you did, that would sort your centre line out for the next 5 or 6 years, wouldn't it?
100%. And my sandwich for you guys is Gale's seeded sourdough with cheese and ham, with a dash of mayonnaise and a bit of lettuce. Okay.
Very, very nice too.
Yeah, well, it's resigned. Callum Wilson, he's no longer at the club. So I feel that they need it. Look, Newcastle owners have been very prudent, understanding the FFP and PSR, but I think they played the long game, Sean. I think we discussed this before. And now I think this window, they're in a far better position now with the Champions League coming up, that they can now spend that money wisely. And I think that's what they're going to do. Early part of the window, they were knocked back on. They looked at João Pedro, weren't they? They got knocked back from that. They got knocked back from 2 bids from Anthony Elanga and a couple of other bids. But these are the first bids that I've seen them make for
we've been sitting there talking all. I think I'm not sure if I think we've been saying it on this channel, but I've been certainly saying it with Sava a lot recently on my stream or his. That there's banks of 4 in the Premier League, right? Like the big 4, maybe 3, which is Liverpool, Arsenal, and City. They've definitely pulled away from 4th place, which is Chelsea, who I don't believe, and I think you agree with me yesterday. I think they're doing a lot of like robbing Peter to pay Paul, but they're not. I don't think they've really materially improved, and they're closer. I think they're closer to the teams below than they are to the teams above in that kind of competitive balance. Then you've got the teams below, which is United, Villa, Tottenham, and Newcastle in terms of real size and potential, if you like. But of those 4 teams, the only one that's really been having a crack so far, but they're cop blocked by their own mistakes, was United. Tottenham straight late out of the traps. Villa struggling because of their own financial issues, and Newcastle just waiting patiently. If Newcastle go and get, I mean, I sort of somewhat disagree with you about Anthony Elanga. I'm not sure he's 55 million quid in value, and I'm certainly not sure that he is necessarily a good fit for their model of football. But doesn't mean I don't like the player. But if they go and get a couple of centre backs in, like Scalvini or Antonio Silva, then I think that's massive improvements for Newcastle. And Tottenham and Villa and United need to be paying attention, because there's only 2 of those teams that have got a chance of getting a Champions League spot via the league position next year.
It's not how you start, it's how you finish. And I think Newcastle are going about it in the right way, acquiring quality players. Look, as we said before, is Anthony Elanga £55 million player? Probably not. But 55 million seems to be the new 20 million at the moment, where everyone you inquire after is 55 million. It's absolutely insane. So we shall see how that goes. Guys, if you're in the chat and you haven't hit the like button as yet, please hit the like button. It really helps us. And if you're here for the first time and you haven't hit subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. We're growing quickly. All this helps us to grow, to help you bring more content. And if you are on Apple Podcasts, or you do listen to them, look us up. Just hit the 5-star review for us. That would be massive. And just hit the follow button. Doesn't affect you, but it really helps us grow. We've just gone on to the pods as of yesterday, and all our old pods are there if you want to go back and listen to them. So thanks very much for all your support.
Yeah, appreciate you all, guys. Let's move on from Newcastle, mate. Inter Milan. Denzel Dumfries has a €25 million, £21 million release fee in his contract, which is valid from now until mid-July, but it can only be triggered by teams outside of the Italian leagues, according to Calcio Mercato. I mean, Johnny, this guy in the semi-finals of the Champions League was absolutely rat-a-ta-ta tantalising. He was so good.
Ta-ta, even.
Ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. He was so good, mate, that 25 million quid. I mean, could you see a Premier League club? Unfortunately, it's not really a position that Tottenham need to improve in too much. But as a right back, he is incredible, isn't he?
I think he'd improve most clubs. How old is he now, Jonny?
How old is he?
Yeah, now.
Not that old, mate. 25 or something. Let's have a look. He's he's older than that. He's 29 years old. Sorry, he's older than that. Yeah. But he's been around. Still got a long time on his legs, I think. So.
I mean, 21. I think 21 million is about right for a 29-year-old. The difference is he could probably play in Italy for the next 5 or 6 years because the Italian league allows you to do that due to its defensive structure. I think he'll stay in Italy personally. That's what I would say. Be interesting though. I think a lot of teams like maybe Everton. No, sorry, I've got this. Sorry, this should be on the screen yet. I'll come back to Kees Smit in a second, but just to say, Denzel Dumfries, if Everton were looking, I mean, Everton have obviously got financial issues. They were looking at Kenny Tete, didn't get him. They were looking at Carl Walker. Not sure what's happened there. Barry. Denzel Dumfries would probably come with a significant wage requirement, but there's a lot of teams in the Premier League that could do with a right back of his experience, his caliber, his pace, his ability to overlap on the outside. The creativity that he possesses, he scores goals. I think 20 million quid, mate, is a bargain for a player like him, to be honest. I hear what you're saying about the resell on value thing, but and obviously that's not the way that the trend of football right now is to go out and spend big money. But 20 million quid for a player that comes with that level of experience, I wouldn't hate it if Tottenham went and did it, to be entirely honest. I know we need to get that club trained thing, whatever, but we're going to get Carl Walker-Peters, or we're going to go and get Dennis Sirkin and pay 15 million quid for him when you could go and get Walker-Peters is nothing. Just going back to the Everton one, we're talking about signing Everton. Everton have moved much closer now to reach an agreement to sign another top French under-21 star, Thierry Barry from Villarreal. 22-year-old has a £34.5 million release clause with the Spanish club. Is understood to be very keen on a move to Merseyside. Barry scored 11 goals and provided 4 assists in 38 games last season as Villarreal finished 5th in La Liga to qualify for the Champions League. Now, he's willing to leave playing in the Champions League to go and play at Everton. Interesting. He was born in Lyon, left French club Sochaux at age only 18 to play in Belgium. The following season, he moved to Swiss super club Basel before joining Villarreal in 2024 in a deal for 13 million. They've tried to look for a few strikers, but this one looks like the one they're going to end up getting. I thought it was a done deal. I think I'm pretty sure that I saw the "Here We Go" from Fabrizio a little while ago. But still not signed him. He's still he's a quality player. Player. I mean, it's his height, mate. It's a huge threat in the air, and he's absolutely perfect for David Moyes. Think Fellaini, how he used to cause all that problems in the box with the corners and stuff. I reckon this guy is going to be the one that's going to score a lot of goals. Yeah, 100%. We shall. I'm pretty sure that deal was more advanced, but it doesn't matter. Either way, we've got another story here. I did a video on this earlier on Spurs Talk Show, so if you are Tottenham fans and you want to go and check it out, I put in some, looked them up on, and went through the Y Scout on the video. But Tottenham Hotspur and Chelsea are among the sides chasing AZ Alkmaar midfielder Kees Smit. Real Madrid are also interested in the 19-year-old mate. I tell you what, this guy looks like a really, really, really talented player. Now, the stats that are being spread around by TBR Football are a little bit misleading. They said he played 43 times last season. He did, but not
is in AZ2 in the youth team. He played a lot of them, right? Or in the second division, a second team, whatever. But he's got a wonderful through ball on him. He's really creative. He's good defensively as well. His stats were compared to his attacking midfielder and wingers versus an 8. But I really do like this guy. I think he's got a steel about him. He's got a lovely little vision. When he passes the ball, he basically never traps traps the guy offside because he's always aware of the peripheral. I think he's going to be someone we're going to be talking about Kees Smit for a long time in the future, and be interesting if Tottenham could get hold of him.
Yeah, Sean, I was just going to ask a question, right? If you're his agent and Chelsea come in, and you've got various clubs, are you going to go to Chelsea with all that's going on right now? It's like a holding pen, like a nursery setup. What is the chance of you breaking through? I think you've got more of a chance breaking through at a Forest, a Spurs, at Everton, and actually establishing yourself at his age and then getting your big move. Same if you went to Real Madrid. I mean, you'd go to Real Madrid, obviously it's a huge draw, but the chances are you wouldn't see first team football for a number of years if you were lucky. But if Spurs signed him, it would mean he would be the second Ginger. We would almost be a sort of a Ginger refuge club.
Yeah, we were linked with another player out of. We were linked with. There's another couple of players we were linked with. Seivold, who looks a lot like the geezer from Harry Potter as well. There's a lot of gingers we're being linked with this summer, mate. It's the weird time. Like the weather's too strong for gingers. We don't want to bring over with climate change doing what it's doing.
Is this Ginge Fest? Are we talking Ginge Fest?
Ginge Fest, yeah. It's a new non-match day event at the stadium, Ginge Fest, where all the Tottenham players come out that happen to have to be ginger. Is Kees Smit too similar to Bergvall, Sean? No, I don't think he. I mean, maybe not. I don't think he is. I think he's more of a. He's more of an 8 that just he likes to get forward. I mean, I'm still not sure where Bergvall's best position is, to be entirely honest, but. This guy's just he's a different type of player, mate. He's a bit stockier, a bit more physical for a 19-year-old. And I like the fact that he's got absolutely no concerns taking the ball on, and just his creativity with his passing is really, really impressive. So I'm not sure if anything will materialise from it, but it's nice to see that Tottenham have identified someone. And if Real Madrid and Chelsea are going in for him, then you probably know that we're fighting amongst the best for someone who could easily be the best in the future. So I'd be up for it. 10 million euros probably would be the starting price in negotiation.
Yeah, we'll see for that one. Interesting bit of news here. Coutinho, Philippe Coutinho, remember him?
Yeah.
Aston Villa confirmed Philippe Coutinho has finally completed a permanent move to Vasco da Gama. The attacking midfielder spent last season on loan at the Brazilian club. He has not played for Villa since August 2023. Obviously, Coutinho joined Villa from Barcelona. I mean, what a signing! What a
sale by Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, what they only bought with him: Virgil van Dijk, Alisson.
You could track back 3/4 of Liverpool's recent success to that particular sale alone, couldn't you?
Correct. Yeah, it massively changed their course. I mean, to put it mildly, Spurs were ahead of Liverpool at that point until that sale, and look where they are now. Yeah, in their tailwinds. Who else have you got there, Sean?
I've got a story out of Al Nassr in Saudi. They're going to try and turn their attention now to Gabriel Martinelli after struggling to land their top target. I think we spoke about this briefly yesterday, but I'm not sure if it was Al Nassr. Wasn't it Al Quadiza or something that was saying?
There's two after him. 72 million. I mean, come on. I mean, listen, 45, 50, maybe. Yeah. I mean, mind you, if Anthony Elanga's worth 55, then fine. But the numbers quoted was 72 million.
Yeah, 72.5 million. That's right. Yeah. Saudi are not done. Saudi are desperate to get people in, and they're obviously going a little bit younger, mate. Like in the last couple of years, Saudi have been trying to the sort of the graveyard shift of footballers who want to pick up their last packet. But ultimately, this summer, Saudi are trying to go after a little bit more of the younger sort of generation to mix it in with their own homegrown people from Saudi. But they're going to the Brazilian market or the South American market, and they're also trying to pick up some sort of players that are not necessarily at the end of their tenure in football. Players like Theo Hernandez, who it turns out I think he's actually going to go there. I spent the last 2 weeks saying he's the example of why people aren't going to Saudi anymore. He doesn't want to go. Turns out maybe they up the price, maybe they up the salary or whatever. Eventually, everyone's got their price, haven't they, mate? You know?
Yeah, they all have. I mean, Al Hilal have, really put Saudi football on the map with that unbelievable win. The draw against Real Madrid, followed by, beating Manchester City. I was up late, couldn't sleep that night, watched the game. Couldn't quite believe it. And tonight, obviously, they play Fluminense. Personally, I love to see Fluminense win. Got this romantic thing about Brazilian football. And Palmeiras, I like to see both of them do well. But they play tonight in the quarterfinal, 8 o'clock. I'll miss that, but I'll record it and watch it another time. But that should be an interesting game tonight. And if Al Hilal get through tonight, because obviously they'll need the money to make the semi-final. No, but if they get through tonight, it's going to give a massive credibility to Saudi Arabian football. And I think that was far bigger than them actually beating Manchester City. It's given them credibility and maybe help them sign more players for the Saudi Pro League.
Yeah, 100%. I've got to bring this up. I've got to show you this. Barcelona journalist Gerard Romero called Denzel Dumfries live on his stream last night. He gesticulates more than I do to ask if he's joining Barca. Dumfries said, I'm on holiday now, so I can't really speak. I'm sorry, but thanks for calling. Bye-bye. That's hilarious. That is so good.
Should we be doing that, Sean? Should we be trying to find people's numbers and call them live on stream? I don't think.
Yeah, 100%. Like if you get on a plane to Hollywood or to LA and you get a tour, call to people's houses. I haven't got anyone's number. I'm not sure if you do, Johnny, but we need to get the first things first in that plan, mate. We need to get some telephone numbers. I could probably call Bugsy Malone or Sava or Henry or something, but that's about
we got numbers to go. Listen, Don Fabio, there's no way that Don Fabio doesn't answer his phone, mate. It's permanently wedged in his ear. Guys, there's over 430 of you in the chat, and we haven't even got 200 likes. Come on, don't behave like your owners when they're not splashing the cash.
Let me just bring this one. Yeah, please do, guys. Smash the granny. Brentford, according to the Evening Standard, Brentford are refusing to lower their asking price for Brian Mbeumo, and United can't afford it, apparently. If a deal cannot be agreed, United, they will expect the 25-year-old to report for pre-season training on Monday. Do you think that Brentford are aware of the potential ramifications of losing some of these players, right? And then going, look at what Leeds are doing. Look at what Sunderland are doing. They're really having a crack. Maybe not so much with Burnley, but the other two. If we were to lose Mbeumo, lose maybe Vissa, lose, we've already lost Norgard. Is there any chance that Brentford are going to go, you know what? Sorry, Brian. If United don't pony up the money, or second alternative, is there any chance that someone else could come in and go, I'll give you 65 million quid, 70 million quid, whatever it is that they want from him?
Man United are talking bollocks, right? Okay. We've heard Ratcliffe say he hasn't got any money. They're on the verge of going bust. We've got to get rid of the tea lady. We've got to get rid of Christmas bonuses. We've got to get rid of meals for the staff, culling 400 staff members, getting rid of the people like Alex Ferguson on his wage as a global ambassador, and then goes out and spends 62 million on Mateus Cunha, only to find out that his plans have been thrown into turmoil by the fact that Bruno Fernandes said no to a £100 million deal to Saudi. And
that's Chelsea really hurt them, mate. That has.
Yeah, of course it has. And Chelsea said they would rather pay a £5 million fine than sign Jadon Sancho.
That's really hurt them as well, isn't it?
That also hurt them. Right, that's 125 million down the Swanee, right? And I have absolutely no sympathy for them, right?
Same.
What they have there is a whole squad of players that have been overpaid for, overpaid for in the transfer fee, overpaid for in their wages, and now they are paying the price, and rightly so, for their poor housekeeping and recruitment. And no one has any empathy for them. They're a huge club with vast sums of money, and Brentford are absolutely within their right. Pay up. This is what he is. We don't want to lose him. You want to buy him. You got to pay the money. They got Vista, who's I think on his last year of his contract this year, so that could be a problem. So if they're going to have to replace him, they're going to have to pay the money. Don't think because you're Man United, you paid 75 million euros for Højlund, and you're going to question proven second top scorer in the Premier League. No, pay up or shut up. That's as simple as that. Maybe Spurs.
We hear from Atletico Madrid, right? From this Transfer News Live that are talking about Denzel Dumfries. Now, Denzel Dumfries is obviously a right back predominantly. Mm-hmm. But if I'm not mistaken, I am mistaken. He's. I was going to say could he also play at right side centre back? He can't. He hasn't. Atletico Madrid are thinking about putting the 25 million quid in. Does this, or the 25 million euro bid in? Is this another demonstration that when Atletico Madrid say we're not paying you 70 million quid for Christian Romero, that they just don't want to pay it because they want to have other money for other players, and they think that therefore they can engineer the move. And in so doing, if Inter Milan are thinking about moving or probably facing the risk of losing Denzel Dumfries, where are they going to go to get their replacement right back? And is that part of the reason why Inter Milan are also looking at other players like Coney de Winter, who can play as a right back at the same time as Tottenham are looking at them? It's all one big game of shuffling the deck here, mate.
It's all bullshit, and we know it, right? Europe play the Premier League, have done for years. We are their cash cow. If you took Saudi Arabia out of the equation, we are the country that keeps Europe afloat. When you go and look for a player in Europe, if you're interested in him, if you're a French club or Italian club and you're interested in a player, it's one price. If the Premier League are interested in, the price is massively inflated. We then play over the top for players. But lo and behold, when we want to get rid of a player and Europe are interested in that player, suddenly they can't afford the fee, they can't afford the wage, and yet they're still managing to do business, okay? They bought Clement Longley, okay? I mean, let's be serious, right? Okay, if you have ambition, you don't buy Clement Longley, however old he is now. I think they're just playing the game. I think the Premier League, the problem is the Premier League need to get rid of players, and unless you can sell them to Saudi or to fellow Premier League clubs, you're losing money on the deals, on a lot of these deals. If you paid 50, 60 million pounds, you need Saudi to get you out of the shit or another Premier League club. Other than that, you're in trouble. And that's where Manchester United lay right now, paying too much money for all these players. I'm right behind Brentford. I think what they've done is fantastic. They just bought this exciting midfielder who's going to do very, very well for them. But having lost Norgard, half their staff, their captain in Norgard and maybe in Mbeumo. Look, I'm sure he wants to go, but like you said, Sean, he might have his heart set on Man United. But if someone came in who's in the Champions League and was willing to pay the numbers,
yeah, I think he would come. Yeah,
he'd come. Yeah.
If he said, I'll stay at Brentford or I'll go to United and nowhere else, I'd be surprised. If it said, I want to go to United, but I would, if Tottenham come in, I'll go there, I think it'd go. So I don't necessarily think that deal's dead. I think it's weird. It's a weird one. It's dragging their feet. I think United are just entirely all at sea because of their ridiculous overspend, which is why to those Tottenham fans that are watching this, I'll encourage you to remember that when you say that Daniel Levy is a poisonous chairman because he doesn't want to pay the wages, look what happens to clubs that overpay on underperforming talent. You have to get the balance right. And in terms of balance, Johnny, what I want to ask you is
5 or 6 million. Look,
you, mate. Oh, go on. Sorry.
I'm just going to say, we're talking here 5 million. What they're standing their ground, they're digging their heels in. Brentford have every right. This is the thing. He's got a contract. This is what you got to pay. You've overpaid for everyone else, but this is a guy who actually delivers. Prem proven. All these other guys you've signed, right, from all round in Europe have not performed. You've overpaid them. This is a guy comes into your team and delivers for Cunha. Pay up. And if you haven't got the money, no one's got any sympathy.
Jonny, if I was to ask you to name a team that would be interested and linked with Thomas Partey, who doesn't have the money but will somehow always find the money, where there's suspicions of things going on, what would you say is the most likely candidate that's being linked with Thomas Partey today?
Well, it's got to be Saudi, wouldn't it? I would say maybe
close to Saudi.
Turkey, on it, obviously on loan or free. No, it's free.
Free transfer.
Yeah, free transfer.
Who do you think it is?
It's got to be Galatasaray or Fenerbahce, right?
It's Fenerbahce, right? So they've apparently submitted an offer to Thomas Partey, and he's flying over there for conversations and talks. Does that put to bed any chance of Yves Bissouma leaving Tottenham Hotspur and going to Fenerbahce?
I don't know. I can see Yves Bissouma saying, you know what? I think I'll see out the end of my contract and sign on a free transfer. He's gone. Don't forget, Yves Bissouma and Papa Sarr are both missing in action for December and January, which is going to be a big blow to Spurs. So Spurs are going to need some reinforcements in the middle of the park there for those 2 months. I can see him hanging on. But look, there's something going on in Turkey right now. Everyone's going there on loan. Money, no object.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm going to be using Grok and ChatGPT to figure out the various ownerships, because it might not be obvious, but behind this, like the standard deviations away from the norm, you go a couple of divisions back from direct ownership, and there's all sorts of things going on. I'm certain of it.
But can I just say, Sean, if they're not paying a transfer fee, the thing is, the draw of the Champions League money and the vast increase in prize money will mean that they can afford these loans, right? They're not paying the transfer fee. So, it's just their way around doing business. And
remember that they haven't got the same tax thresholds, right?
Correct. And
that's the smartest thing that Turkish football could have done, by the way.
Yeah, and Jack's got here, Saudi are obviously unofficially buying into Galatasaray and Fenerbahce. UEFA and FIFA are so bent, they don't care, and that's absolutely right.
Well, I was looking into it earlier on. So the PIF fund doesn't allow for external investments into the PIF fund, but the PIF fund have memorandums of understanding with a bunch of companies. The number 1 and 2 and 3 are BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. And who are the 3 biggest shareholders of Fenerbahce? BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street. Now, for what it's worth, this sounds alarming, but BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street are pretty much the 3 biggest shareholders in most companies that are publicly listed around the world, because they control everything. But it doesn't mean, but like I said to you on the previous video, Jonny, I think I looked into it. The distributions, like the average ownership of like Nvidia or of Goldman Sachs or whoever else will have those 3 at the top. But in terms of the average proportion of the companies that those 3 entities have investments in, is far highly disproportionately distributed into Turkish football than it is to the normal company distributions around the New York Stock Exchange, for example, or the FTSE 100. So it's not necessarily alarming to hear those names, but in terms of the percentages that are owned in those, especially when you see the PIF fund have got MOUs attached, I'm not saying it's anything necessarily, but there's no smoke without fire, and I'm going to continue to pull away at that thread, mate, until the whole rug falls apart.
We keep going, and as Dave said, maybe they're just there for the secret hair transplants or a nice set of new teeth. We don't know. The only problem is when you go to Turkey, you might actually end up with teeth implants in your head instead of they can come back with hairy teeth. Anything's possible out there.
Mate, you have to trim that moustache. It's coming into your mouth. I haven't got a moustache. I've just got a hair here.
Yes, very nice. Very nice. How you doing, Sam? Good to see you, man. Guys, if you're here for the first time, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps us. And as I said before, if you pop along to Apple Podcasts and find Football Inc., hit that 5-star review and hit follow. We're trying to grow that now on podcasts. If you're walking your dog, walking your kids, or walking your wife, hit that button, and you can listen to that on your earpods on your walks or wherever you might be doing.
Just quickly, Chelsea have also agreed a scholarship deal for England under-18 goalkeeper Freddie Bernal. They rejected a formal bid from Arsenal a few months ago as he's staying at the club. So Chelsea just quietly going about their business. And in other news, just to round us off, Romano said a couple of hours ago, Barcelona are planning a new approach for Luis Diaz in the next day or weeks after the Nico deal fell off. Liverpool also already closed doors to both Barca and FC Bayern in the recent weeks. Not an easy one, especially because of Diogo Jota. Just quickly, I did see one a minute ago, mate, that came out from Barcelona saying that they will never again try to sign Nico Williams. They're done. You turned us down? How dare you? How dare you waste our time? You're done at Barca, Williams. You're done.
We were working for you forever. Nah. Okay. Who's in Ghana? Good afternoon.
Yeah, we shall see.
Yeah,
Sean, mate, please stop with the fake laugh. It's not fake, my man. It's not fake. I've been laughing like this since I was about 8 years old. Well, since I was
it's real. I can vouch for it. We were, we heard it a lot in Norway. Freddie Bernal will probably go on to represent Colombia in the future. Freddie Bernal.
He's not Bernal. He's Bernal Future.
Yeah. We got the bad jokes. If you want shitty jokes, right?
You got them right here. You got them right here.
Darren, what button? If you go into Apple Podcast and type Football Link, it will come up, and you can hit follow, and it gives you a chance. If you scroll down to hit a review, just hit 5-star review, guys. We're trying to grow that. As I said, we've only just put that out, and all of our old podcasts are on there. You can have a listen to those. I think that's about it for today, Sean.
That's about it, mate. That's about it, guys. We will see you tomorrow for whatever's going on. Johnny, are you around tomorrow?
I'll be around tomorrow. And hopefully we'll discuss. There's a game in the middle of the night, obviously a late game, which is Chelsea, isn't it?
Chelsea Palmeiras, yeah, it's a massive one. 2 a.m. Can't wait to see Richard Rios tear them apart.
Yeah, now there's a player I'd love to see at Spurs. What a player he is.
If Richard Rios, the problem is, I'm torn between this one because Tottenham, Inter, a few other teams are linked with Richard Rios right now. If Richard Rios smashes, puts in a worldie against a Premier League team, then his asking price will go from like 25, 30 to like 40. But I'm that's fine, right? But I'd rather Chelsea not win the Club World Cup. And if they beat Palmeiras in the quarters, I think they play Al Hilal, it's likely they'll play probably Al Hilal in the semis. And so they're basically going to make an extra 40, 50 million quid, and they can just carry on doing what they're doing. And if they go on and win the whole tournament, they'll have picked up 120 million quid or something mad out of the tournament, it's just insane. So I don't want to be a hater if there's any Chelsea fans out there, but I am a Tottenham fan. And so I've got to be honest with you guys that I'd rather see Richard Rios' asking price jump up by a couple extra mil if it meant that you guys were buried by his performance tomorrow night. So we shall see about that, though. Johnny, what's coming up in your day, mate? You're going out today, aren't you? You're not around for the whole day.
I'm out today. Just to say that Foxy's let us know that John Arias will be playing Al Hilal today. So look out for John Arias today in that game for Fluminense. I think, is that right? Foxy?
Yep. Fluminense against Al Hilal.
Watch out for him. And if you are up at 2:00 in the morning, then you need to watch out for the other guy that we.
Oh, he's dropped off again. He's done it again. Tell you what, guys, we'll leave it right there. I was going to say it's goodbye from him, and then he was going to say it's goodbye from me, but I'm going to leave it there. It's goodbye from both of us. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Another video coming out from the Spurs Talk Show in a minute about some updates regarding Richard Rios, for example, and then some more content coming out later on. So if you are a Tottenham fan that's watching, go back and check out the video I dropped about a couple of hours ago regarding some young youth team players, and then there's a couple more coming out throughout the day. So we will see you later on. Like, subscribe, and comment. Get over to the podcast. Links in the description. See you soon, guys. See you tomorrow. Take it easy.